Good morning. Thank you, Director Dunham, Director Vaughn, and everyone assembled here today. My name is Dr. Meghan Davis. I am a former large animal veterinarian. I'm a current predoctoral fellow with the Johns Hopkins Center for a Livable Future and a PhD candidate in environmental health. And what I'd like to do today is talk about one specific section of a DUFA. And I'd like to start by briefly explaining why me, as a veterinarian, and the Center for a Livable Future, in its interest in public health, are stakeholders in this particular area. I'd like to make some recommendations to expand public reporting of already collected summary data on animal drug use, and also make some recommendations to collect additional data. Veterinary stakeholders need data on drug distribution and sales to food animals for many reasons. The first is to improve guidelines for judicious use of these antimicrobial drugs, which of course are very important for animal health and also for human health. By having more information on drug use, we can minimize treatment failure, which can lead to a reduction in the overall use of antimicrobial drugs. And also it can guide client-oriented education efforts for antimicrobial stewardship through good herd management programs. On the public health side, information on antimicrobial sales can help understand problems related to antimicrobial resistance to help preserve antimicrobial efficacy for treatment of human disease. And also, this data is very important, and I believe this is part of the inception of this particular section that was amended to a DUFA to make the data available, comparable with data that is collected by NARMS, the National Antimicrobial Resistance Monitoring System. For instance, the NARMS data is presented on a monthly basis, but the public summary on the ADUFA data is presented annually. And so this leads to my first recommendation, which is to expand the public reporting in the publicly available summary. We have data already collected under ADUFA on the month of distribution, the target species, the therapeutic indication for use, and also the route or routes of administration that may be possible. But because the summary report only gives annual totals, we recommend that reporting of these data should be more refined and should include data on month, species, indication, and route. In addition, we have data from the not independently reported, both domestic and exported drugs that include World Health Organization designated critically important antimicrobials. And these include fluoroquinolones and streptogramins, among others. These categories represent, for the domestic side, 11%, and on the export side, 95% of the total quantities of antimicrobials reported for use. And this is based on the very recent report of the 2010 data. And thank you very much for getting that out ahead of this meeting. Independent of any industry concerns, we recommend reporting of data by class regardless of the number of sponsors because of the public health importance of these antimicrobials. In addition, as ADUFA moves forward into reauthorization, we feel that additional data may be helpful. Antimicrobial use often is dependent on location, and in part this is because of regionalization of the food animal industry. For example, in my home state of Maryland, a lot of our poultry are present on the eastern shore, and we don't have a very substantial dairy or swine industry in comparison. The effects of such antimicrobial use can be local or regional, and this can be through environmental exposure pathways. So we're talking about not just the environment such as air and water, but also foodborne pathways. We recommend collection and public reporting of distribution data by location at the county or state level. And this would be to make this data parallel to information collected by public health authorities and researchers. I'm just going to summarize by using an illustration. And here I have information in blue, that's the left-hand column, on the food animal distribution data in terms of the percent by each antimicrobial class. So I have aminoglycosides at the far left, lincosamides, macrolides, tetracyclines, and then for the data from ADUFA, it's in the not independently reported category. But for the other data I present, which is from NARMS, the far right represents fluoroquinolines. So we have in blue percent of market share for each of these drug classes, and then in purple, the resistance level among isolates found in chickens for Campylobacter jejuni for 2009, and then in green, the resistance in chicken breast, which is a food product tested through NARMS, and finally in red, the resistance found in human isolates. And so this helps illustrate how antimicrobial sales can both drive through usage concerns with antimicrobial resistance development. And of course, this is a two-way street, right? Because when you have problems in animals, you might also have increased prescriptions or usage of veterinary antimicrobials. But how these are also linked to public health concerns. What we see on this graph is that, there seems to be an association. We have more isolates resistant to tetracyclines, and we have a greater market share of tetracycline use by class, as reported in the FDA ADUFA data. However, there's some flaws here, right? On the far right, we do not have a breakdown of that not independently reported category according to what part of it is actually fluoroquinolone use. Also, we know that where you see the stars, the lincosamides, the macrolides, and the tetracyclines, that you have data that is not necessarily just for indications for food animals. Some of these drugs may also be indicated for use in other species. Again, illustrating my point that we need some more refined data to be able to understand better what's going on. Finally, with this data, if we had not just an annual summary and not just a grouping of the food animal usage by the entirety of all food animals and not broken down by species, we might actually be able to see if there are any associations between the antimicrobial sales data and our resistance data through NARMS. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your wisdom and clear thinking.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.